Hi, I'm John Choler, but you can just call me Choler, and that's right, I'm back. Here reviewing Elden Ring, the latest game from Software. So we're gonna jump straight into it. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you like it more, and I'll be back probably for another review because they keep having me here. And anyway, let's talk about it. All right, so Elden Ring, the latest game from Software. It's not the next Dark Souls 4. People have been telling it. It's its own property based off of the previous works from Software. The biggest thing about this is that George R.R. Martin wrote the story with from Software essentially to combine into its own property. You're essentially a tarnished, and your whole objective is to get this Elden Ring. And the Elden Ring is like the life force, this power of this world. The gods controlled it, their children, demigods, all wanted a piece of it and broke this Elden Ring and shattered it across the lands. And your whole job is to pick up the pieces and reassemble this Elden Ring. And if you do it, whoever makes the Elden Ring whole again becomes the Elden Lord. Starting off, is the story any good? Can I as a player understand this story? Because From Software is notorious for putting out breadcrumbs and being like, figure it out yourself. This is what may or may not have happened. You usually get a cutscene in the beginning of the game, and then you don't know for the rest of the game what happens. This is the best thing, I think, why they partnered with George R.R. Martin, is because the breadcrumbs and the foundation for the storytelling is there. The mystery and the vagueness is there. But George R.R. Martin, you can tell because the NPCs, the story, the characters you run into are fleshed out. You can feel people's motivations in this. It's easy to understand. You want this Elden Ring, and this Elden Ring grants power, and your job is to take it from people that have pieces of it and put it back together. The whole war that broke this Elden Ring is called the Shattering. So it's easy to follow along with. There's so many things that this game tells you about, and events and stories that unfolded here that you can go visit in the open world and see that this is where this happened, this is where that also happened. I am standing in the middle of a battle that they were talking about. So the story here is the most understandable it's ever been, is the most digestible, like you can intake it and understand what's going on. You understand at the start of your journey what you have to do, and you experience it throughout the game. And at the end of the game, you have a story complete, you have an ending. So you can follow along from start to finish what's going on. Sure, there's going to be the more openness and the vagueness from other things and the mysteries that you can solve, but you're not leaving this game thinking to yourself, what the hell happened? Did I even play something that's concrete? You leave going like, oh, I did this, this, and this, and I know more about the lore. And the best thing about it is there's characters in this game that will actively tell you about what you want to know. So you get the most exposition out of this game than you ever have from any previous games. Is the voice acting any good? And throw the whole argument of sub or dub out the window, because if like I only played this on English, but the voice acting here is, I think, beautiful. I think it's so well done. Like, I can understand a character's personality when they talk. I know what motivates them, type of deal. Like the cutscenes when people talk to you, I'm actively listening to. It doesn't sound phoned in. It doesn't sound goofy or out of place. It sounds like it's in this fantasy world. You're drawn into it. Of course, there's going to be those funny little like one-liners. There's going to be creepy NPCs. But that's how they were made. That's how they were written. So now you can understand it. And the one thing I didn't think I was going to run into in this game, there's a lot of heartfelt moments. There was a lot of, there's some tragic backstories. There's some sad moments. There's some uncertainty that these characters go through. And you feel it when they talk to you. So it draws you in. The voice acting, I think, adds to the story. It doesn't break it. So now that we know that there's an actual story from start to finish, am I going to see it? Well, yeah, there's tons of cutscenes in this game, from boss introductions to your intro to the game to the endings to everything in between when you run into certain characters or certain areas. When you trigger certain things, there are cutscenes, and the cutscenes in this game are beautiful. They're of movie quality. I'm sure someone's gonna go to YouTube and cut up this entire game and make it a movie, and I'll watch it. Like, I'll pay for someone to do that, because every time there was a cutscene playing, I watched it. I didn't skip it, because that's how well made these cutscenes were. I wanted to see them through. And also, they're voice acted from these cutscenes. They're not just silent. So you want to know and want to listen to the cutscenes where it is. Same as always, your character is still silent in these cutscenes, but your armor and what you're wearing shows through in like high definition. So like you really feel like you're a part of this cutscene, not just like slapped on top of it of this beautiful, well-drawn cutscene, and then your 3D model comes in and like all pixel. No, it's not there. You feel like you're painted into a picture. So it is a full experience here. The cutscenes do not disappoint. This game was delayed, and I feel like a majority of that time went to polishing these cutscenes because they have no business being as well made as they are. Yo, Elden Ring, the tits on this bad boy are perfect. All right, so the next thing we got to talk about is the soundtrack in this game. Is the music any good? So I'm speechless even thinking about the right words to put into how good this music is, because I actively play Spotify when I'm gaming. I love to have my own soundtrack when I'm gaming. This soundtrack is so good that I have literally stopped my Spotify just to listen to it. I enter a boss room, I want to know the soundtrack of that boss room. The boss is actively kicking my shit in and the orchestra raises up, I want to hear it. And even during the cutscenes, it's so mellow and calm that I want to know what this game has to offer with its ambiance. When you go into different areas, there's different soundtracks. When you go into different bosses, it's different boss music. When you're exploring the open world with your horse, different music. It's just calming. It's beautiful to listen to. Like you really feel like you're in this fantasy world. It's not out of place. It's not like you're going up against a dragon and then suddenly like the hottest new pop track drops on you and you're walking into a sad moment and Billie Eilish starts playing. No, it's like actually good music that you're listening to that draws you in, and they don't have to use any artist or anything to really sell it. It's just sometimes it's just string violins, and it's made me pause my music and listen to it. So it is that good. Well, FromSoft has always had a great character creator, and it's the best it's ever been in Elden Ring. Period. You can customize as many things as you could before in the previous games and more. The only thing you can't customize is tits. They still don't have a slide scaler, so you can't adjust it. You can make your character purple and weird and massive arms, but they give you the size tits that you're gonna get, and you have to deal with it. So that's the only complaint I have with the character creator. Everything else, gorgeous. You can make yourself in the character creator, or you can make a monstrosity, or you can make anything in between. And I'm excited to see people like and what they can do. Like when I want to make a beautiful character, I can't make it myself. I look up YouTube videos. If I want to make a monstrosity, I just hit the randomize button. And trust me, you don't want to hit the randomize button. It's terrifying. But you're going to be satisfied with the character creation. It is fantastic. You can make exactly what you want to make, or there's presets for the game if you don't want to spend your time in it. And the best thing about it is anytime you're in the game and you want to change, I don't like my character's name, the nose isn't right in the open world, I just want to switch my gender in the middle of a playthrough. You can do that at any time in this game. No in-game currency, you don't have to pay for it. Anytime, for free, you can switch your character's name, you can switch your character's build, you can switch your character's gender, anything like that. So it is the best it's ever been in any FromSoft game. The main thing that you're going to be playing this game for is the game. So is the gameplay any good? Yes. The foundation of FromSoft with the Dark Souls games is here. So if you played any of those games, or have been told about those games, the foundation's here, but everything about it's been improved upon. The fact that you can jump straight up now without having to run and jump adds a whole new complex like gameplay loop to the game. You can use your sword and shield, everything's there like you used to before, but now it's just been improved upon. So the biggest thing about gameplay that changes is the game gives you a horse. It's an open world now, so now you can go from point A to point B, you have a horse. How does that change the overall Dark Souls feel? Is it still a Dark Souls game? Yes. It's just Dark Souls with a horse, which sounds stupid when I say it, but it is incredibly fun and like experiencing it. Your horse has a double jump. You yourself can jump straight up, but your horse can jump twice. So now puzzles in the world become new jumping puzzles. Do I need my horse? Can I just jump straight up there? Secondly, when you run into an encounter in the world, you don't have to just go running across like the streets with a sword and a shield. You no longer can see a giant or a dragon and run it with a stick. You can now run it with a stick on horse. that can jump. So you can jump over enemies, you can run away from enemies, you can attack them in certain ways. So adding the horse to the formula sounds like it would never work, but it does. So that's the biggest change, is that the horse is in here, and you can use magic from the horse, you can attack from the horse, you can just punch people from the horse, or you can just run away on the horse. I wish the horse had its own attack button where you could kick people in the back. You can't, but everything else is what you can do. Second thing about the gameplay is, like, what else does it change? Does it innovate on? There's so much to talk about, so this is just going to be me rambling on the things that they've added to this game. So you got your standard formula, sword and shield. You have magic makes a return. Incantations, which are basically miracles and faith, also returns. Pyromancy from the other game is back and at it. Dual wielding is also here, straight in front, right in your face at the start of the game. So you have a bunch of, familiar tools to use, and they definitely change them up and make it. Magic in this game is actually viable. You've probably seen people one-shot things on TikTok. Faith and miracles are still good. They're still the standard. They're still viable. So pyromancies, you can still burn everything alive in front of you. That hasn't changed. So the accessibility, the versatility of this game is there, and there's more of everything. You used to get spells, you got more spells. You used to get miracles, you got more miracles. You used to use weapons. There's so many new weapons in this game, from boss weapons to mini boss weapons to just regular weapons. Hell, there used to be rapiers and thrusting swords. Now there's a whole class called heavy thrusting swords, which are like great swords of rapiers. It makes no sense, but they just keep adding to it. Like, there's so much here for you to play with. And the best news of it all is it all works. It all kills. If you put the stats into it, you can make it work. Your magic build will kill the same boss just as well as your bleed build or your poison build. And nothing here feels like it hits like a wet noodle. It doesn't feel like what you're building into is a joke. It actually feels good. So when people say the game is easier compared to other Soul games, it's actually more like you have more options at your disposal. So you no longer have to tackle a boss in one way. You can tackle it in several. Every weapon used to have its own weapon art, its own special move. Now in Elden Ring, you have these Art of Wars or Ashes of Wars, which means that your weapon can do a special attack, but now you can customize it. Your sword can do a regular sword stance. You can do a high kick, a guard break, but now you can stomp the ground and summon a tornado. Now you can charge at them. You can throw your sword at them. You can parry. You can add that onto shields or swords, but then now there's 8 different parries in the game. I can parry with the power of God, essentially, to shoot lightning back at you. Or if I parry you just in time, I summon swords that will come flying at you. And that's the really fun. You now can choose any weapon you want, and you can choose any weapon art that you want on it, except for boss weapons. Boss weapons have their own unique version, their own weapon art that you can't get elsewhere besides that weapon. So it's like a nice trade-off. But as far as the Ashes of War go, the best thing about this game is if you're making a magic build and you run into something that is extremely resistant to magic, so you're hitting it for 10 or 20, you can use an Ash of War and change your weapon to do bleed damage or lightning damage, and you don't need the stats to use it. The Ash of War is its own thing, so now you can add lightning damage to your magic build. You can add bleed damage to your faith build. The game gives you an arsenal of weapons and an arsenal of tools, and it's your choice and what you want to use and what boss encounter you want to use. You no longer have to change your entire build to get through one area. You just have to change your weapon. You can now craft in this game, item crafting. It's not crazy and diverse as like a Minecraft or like a Rust system, but you can make your own consumables now. You can make your own throwing knives, you can make your own bombs, you can make your own weapon greases to apply different buffs to your weapons. You can make your own consumables to cure yourself. If you get poisoned or if you get hit with toxic or rot, you can make your own cures on the fly. You no longer have to get lucky and be like, I hope the map gives me something to cure me. I hope the map will give me something that, is the right thing to throw at them. You can now make your own items. If you go into a boss battle and go, oh, I'm severely underprepared, like he was throwing magic at me, but I don't have magic defense, you can make your own magic defense. If an enemy is super resistant, is super vulnerable to fire, you can make a shit ton of fire bombs and pelt them like it's a game of dodgeball, and like they're gonna lose. So now it's on the fly. You can make what you need to make wherever you are. You don't have to backtrack to a certain area to get a bunch of things that you hope the map gives you. You can just make it. So there's a bunch of open resources in the game now, in the open world, that you should pick up because you never know when you're going to use them. And I find myself item crafting in every encounter that I have. Anytime I have a problem where I need more stamina, I need more of a certain damage, I just make it. And it's such a simple system that's not in any of the previous games, but it's right here in the forefront, and it's fantastic. It feels so satisfying to use. It's very simple to pick up on, but it's hard to master because you're like, what do I need for the situation when I can make everything? So just like other previous From Software games, you can play this online or you can play it offline. And before, when you played it offline, you were by yourself. You had a hope that an NPC summon would be there at a boss fight if you needed help. Well, the great thing about Elden Ring that introduces you in this game is that there's these things called phantom summons, which are like their own. You get to summon certain NPCs and enemies in this game as like astral projections. So you can bring them into certain areas. So even if you're playing offline, you're not alone. You can summon different enemies like it's Pokemon, like assuming which one do you need for a fight. You can find knights, you can find monsters, you can summon little jars, you can summon birds, you can summon a mimic that basically uses your own equipment and armor and will fight as a pure copy of yourself, which is incredibly fun because sometimes you're going to be watching yourself beat up a boss while you're just hanging back, and the mimic will do things that you haven't done yet, and you're like, oh shit, I should be doing that. He's like showing me up with my own stuff. So you'll learn and do all these things, and if you really need, like, I need a tank to really absorb all these hits from this boss, summon a big guy. I need a bunch of people to mob the hell out of somebody, like they're mugging him and it's like he went down the wrong alley, summon a pack of wolves. Like, they'll do the job for you. And there's so many options here that this game gives you that, like, it's such a simple concept, but it's a whole new system that they added to the game. So that's fantastic, and that's a new thing that I think everybody should experience, because while you're online, you can also summon these summons. It's basically like, do you want to summon your friends or do you want to summon your own summons? You have to choose. You can't do both at the same time. But the game gives you the option to pick one or the other, because sometimes your friend sucks and your other phantom doesn't. It's an open world. Now, you're probably thinking, how much of an open world is it? It is an open world. It's massive. It's not just like going from dungeon to dungeon, which I thought it was going to be, with like some space in between. It's a whole world. The game gives you a map, and there's rivers, there's mountaintops, there's churches, there's castles, there's resources for you to collect, there's fields. Like, it's a living, breathing world, and it's beautiful. It also has its own day and night cycle, which you think would just be a cosmetic gimmick, like, ooh, it looks nice during the day, and now, ooh, in the night it's pretty, the moon's out. No, there's its own open world mechanics. Sometimes there's certain bosses that come out at night, and only at night. Sometimes there's, enemies that show up during the day that, go into the caves at night. There's also certain encounters with NPCs that you can't do during a certain time of the day. There's so many things that you can miss in this day and night cycle that you don't even notice. Half the time you're going around and it's daytime and you're just exploring, and before you know it, it's nighttime. And then suddenly, things get a lot more dangerous, or they get a lot more safer depending on what area you're at, but you don't know until you explore that. Also, with the open world, most games, like the best example I can think of is Assassin's Creed, is you get a bird's eye view, and the game goes, here's all the things that you can find on this map, and you don't have to pay attention and really explore. This gives you an actual map that you have to read with a compass that says north, south, west, and east, and the game won't tell you where you should go. It guides you in the general direction, but you have to figure out yourself. I had to read a compass again. I was mad that a game forced me to use a compass, but then I was extremely satisfied when I was finding where I needed to go and the game didn't tell me. So you can look at the map and see landmarks like that's a giant bridge. That looks like a fort. That looks like a giant battlefield of an area. What could be there? The game won't tell you. You have to go there and find out. You can find secret caves, you can find hidden loots, you can find battlegrounds, you can find castles that have been sacked or castles that are still standing and that, will shoot at you if you come across them. all these hidden secrets in this game are so good, and it doesn't tell you. The map is there for you to explore and find what you need to find. And there's so much of this game that you can miss just from not exploring. And that's one of the best things that I think other people have hit on, is that it feels like you're rewarded for exploring again. And that joy of exploring, like when you're going through an area that you're like, I feel like something could be here, and like you find a hidden hideout with like treasure, you're like, oh hell yeah, I'm awesome. I'm so good at this. And other times you go to try to find something and you either go off a cliff or find a shack with nothing in it. You're just like, oh, I'm dumb. Like the game loves to balance this. It's either one extreme or the other. It's just extremely satisfying to explore. I have put over 150 hours into this game, and I will put another 150 hours exploring, because there's so much of this world that I want to experience and see, and it's there. The map is huge. For what you're paying for, like $60, you're getting an actual open world, not a gimmick of an open world, not dungeons coded to make it look like it's an open world. It's an actual open world. And yes, you're going to want to use your horse to get across it, because if you try to run from the start to the finish, you're just going to get bored from holding your finger down on the B button. Like, it's going to get actually sore. Like, there was times where I wanted to use my horse because I knew going from one place to the other was going to be such a problem just walking. So how much do you like Breath of the Wild? All right, so talking about the map system, going on with it, you can add map markers to your map to, little GPS lines. They become these blue pillars of light that you can find in the world. So the really cool thing about it is when you add it to the map, you can see it show up in the world. And when you take it away, it also disappears from your view, or when you reach it. And you can have up to like 5 or 6 of them different at a time, and it pops up numbered on your compass. But it is incredibly nice to be like, I don't know where I'm going, or I want to find it, and the game has a nice way of doing it without shoving it in your face. Like, it's not going to tell you how many meters out you are essentially from your location, but it's going to be like, here's a blue icon of where you need to go. And then it's like, sometimes you put an icon on top of a mountain and you hope maybe it will show me a path on how to get up. No, it just is like, hey, there's a blue light on that mountain. You can put a marker up there, but we're not going to tell you how to get there. So it's a really fun experience to put it down and then, try to see how you can get there. But there is a little help there essentially with the map. So a big thing in this game that introduces and works off of like Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 introduced darkness. Be like, ooh, you need a torch, you need light to see. And then people just cranked their brightness and the game was like, fuck. That didn't work too well. But Elden Ring mastered it because you can raise your brightness, but the game just goes, no, it's really dark in here. So you need some form of light to explore certain areas like caves or castles. And normally the game would just give you a torch. And the torch is still in here. But there's a torch, there's a beast repelling torch, there's a torch that turns you into a circus performer that you could just spit fire at people. There's wearable lanterns that you can put on your belt so you actually free up your hands so you just illuminate. There's magic that you can cast that literally lights up the whole area around you. And I don't know if there's pyromancies or incantations that do it because I haven't messed too much with it. But there's basically a lot of different ways for you as a character to light up your surroundings. And it's very fun. Depending on your play style, you can choose a different form of light. So I just wanted to make it known that there is dark areas in this game, but there's a ton of different light sources that you yourself as a player can utilize. It's like, what build am I gonna make? What am I gonna do? You get to choose a wide variety of options with stats, from magic to sorcery to bleed to poison to dual wielding to you could just run around naked with a dagger and optimize for that. And before in other games, you'd be like, okay, I want to try something new playthrough. Oh, I want to try something new. I have to get this certain item to, restack. I got to go through this journey of, redoing my build. The best thing about Elden Ring, and I think it does this perfectly compared to the other games, is that you can respec your character after beating one of the second main bosses at any time during the game. You only need a certain item called a larva tier, but the game throws them at you like candy for beating them. Beating little bosses or just finding them out in the open world. I think the game even gives you one when you first have the option of respecting. So at any time you can change your build, and in the first playthrough, your first game, you'll get around a dozen of these items. So if you pick up a ton of magic and you're just using a sword and shield and go, I really want to know what magic's like, you can try it. You pick up a ton of incantations to try faith. Oh, I think that would look so good. You can try it or switch back to what you were doing before, and it feels like it's just fluid, like it's just easy. So this game really makes it accessible, where it doesn't feel like you have to, it's a life or death situation of, I need to make this character exactly what it's like from the start, or it's over. And if I respec once, if I fuck up, it's over. No, the game just goes, yeah, whatever you find and pick up, try. Oh, you don't have the right stats for it? Here you go. Get the right stats and try it out. So I think it's the best it's ever been in the series because of how easy and accessible it is. Okay, so the biggest question is, like, I'm new to Dark Souls. I haven't played any Dark Souls. What makes Elden Ring different? I think Elden Ring is the perfect place for anybody new to From Software games to jump in at, because it's not the easiest game. I think it's the most accessible game that From Software has put out on. People are going to be talking about it's great for new players. It's if this is your first game, it's the best place to jump in, and I fully agree with that. But here, let me explain why. Because at the start, you get to create anything you want with the best character creation system, and you can change it at any time, so you're not locked into anything. And going into this game, it still gives you a mini tutorial, but then it doesn't hold your hand. But if you're new to the stats and the skills and you don't know what's going on, you can put it into anything you want. And then again, right after the second boss, you can respec at any time. So if you feel like you messed up, or you feel like, you're not doing the best you can, the game is like, don't worry about it. Here's all the options for it. Thirdly, is that the amount of weapons this game gives you, from swords to shields to flails to hammers, colossal weapons, spears, pikes, claws, like essentially where you can just make people bleed. There's a human fist as a weapon that you can use, which is terrifying, but it's its own weapon class. Whips are its own thing. There's so many different weapons that you can use, and that's not including the whole magic system, where there's magic, there's faith, which is incantations, there's pyromancies, there's madness, there's a whole new thing for madness, there's sleep, you can put enemies and other people to sleep now, there's bleed, there's poison, there's scarlet rot, there's toxic. There is a list of things that I'm probably also missing, but there's so many options here for players to get their hands on. And the best thing about it is they're not jokes, they're not gimmicks. Like, we can joke about sleep all day long, but it's not fun in games until someone invades your world and puts you to sleep and you don't know what's going on, because everything in this game is viable, where you can kill your enemies and you can kill the bosses, and it's extremely satisfying. So you can play however you want to play. Don't think that you have to play a certain way jumping into this game. You can play exactly how you want to play, and the game, if you build upon it, you can get through the game. Secondly, Dark Souls used to be linear, as in, like, you have to beat this boss to get to this boss. There's no way around it. And in this game, there's certain bosses that you can do, but you don't have to do them in order. The first boss that you run into, like the Margaret the Fell Omen, is one of the first roadblocks as a player that you run into in the open area. And you can tackle him right when you're, like, coming out of the gate at level 10, or you can tackle him when you're level 40 after leveling up. The best thing about it for new players is if you feel like you're not doing enough damage or you're not tanky enough, you can go to these side dungeons, you can go exploring, you can go find a bunch of other enemies to level up on, and then when you are comfortable enough, can go take on the boss at your level. When I'm a veteran of Dark Souls, so I can take on the boss at level 20, suffer a bit, get through it. But some of my other friends I told to go level up, they went to Margaret when they were level 40, level 60, and it was way easier of a time for them. So for new players, you're no longer thrown this impossible boss with, like, your starting gear. You're now thrown this impossible boss, but you can come back to it geared up in any way that you want. So you can explore and become as powerful as you need to be to tackle the boss in front of you, which has never been an option before in these games, because you don't have to do that linear path. You can go around, you can go to the side, you can just spend your time farming up and getting strong. You can go to the gym and get jacked before you hit these bosses, and trust me, you'll hit them. So a big thing about this game is that you can play with your friends. You can use the co-op system by playing online. You can summon people to your own world, or you can be summoned yourself. And as far as a game release goes, Elden Ring's co-op is extremely stable. For me and a bunch of my friends, the online worked at launch. It still works now. I've been disconnected twice, but I instantly was able to be resummoned or resummon my friends in under a minute. And compared to the last couple games where servers were down, or sometimes the online wasn't even shipped out when people were releasing these games, this is a full package. The online is so nice and stable, so you want to play with your friends, you can. You're not going to run into any major issues there. And then as far as I've been rambling and praising this game because I feel like it truly is a masterpiece, and I really think that people should play it. But you got to be honest, is there glitches? Is there any complaints? I've run into one boss in this game that I had to save and quit because it glitched. And I had another friend that I was playing with that had the same boss glitch. So there is a glitch or two in this game that you might run into, but that's after putting 150 hours into this game. That's the only glitch that I ran into. My horse hasn't, done backflips or got stuck in a mountain. I haven't fallen through the map. I haven't had my save file completely crash or be corrupted on me. The only thing I had was I walked in and me and the boss were just chilling looking at each other. That's it. I was like, oh, I can't kill this person and they can't kill me. I'll just reload. And then, I was right back onto my journey. So as far as issues that I've run into, at least playing on the Series X, is just one. Look, if you made it this far just listening to me ramble about Elden Ring, bravo, thank you. I'm surprised you haven't gone and played this game yet. But if you still stuck around listening to me, you just gush about this game, thank you. And I really want to get to the final part of okay, should you buy this? Yes, if you've been listening to me at all, buy this game. It is 100% worth your money. But at the same time, if you're a Dark Souls veteran, you're going to enjoy. Elden Ring is a masterpiece. It is beautiful what they've been able to do. It's like their swan song of all their creations past. And if you played all their games or just one of their games and enjoyed From Software's game, Elden Ring is perfect for you. Get it. If you're new to this game, I think this is the perfect place to jump into, and it's extremely worth your money. And also on top of this, there's no microtransactions, no skins you have to pay for, no pre-order bonuses, no horse skins that you get. Torrent is always going to look like Torrent. That's your horse's name. He's going to be always looking the same. No microtransactions. And whether for new players or veteran players, I think this is extremely worth your time. Once again, I'm John Troller. I've been your host for this Elden Ring review. If you made it this far into the video, thank you so much. You should comment, and if you're not subscribed already and you're still listening to me, just subscribe for these guys. Here at 4Player LAN Party, they do these awesome videos that have more content. I'll be back for more if you like me, and even if you don't, there's other beautiful people here on this channel that will be giving amazing content. So, subscribe, tune in for more, and I'll see you in the next video.